Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. So it's all a bit mad this morning. I haven't got a lot of time. I'm actually painting my nails as I speak. So you know it's live. You know it's live. But I promised, I said that every day while this mushroom trial is on, I will try and give you an update from the day before in Australia in the mornings, and I'm going to stick to that. But there are just sometimes I might be, because I've got this sort of bit of a wild day today. Nothing mega. I'll tell you about it tonight in members, but so it's just all a bit hectic. So right, sorry, I'll do this last nail and then I'll be with you. So, of course, that's what we're going to talk about. The mushroom trial, or the mushroom murder trial, different things that people are calling it. These poor 4 people who were poisoned by death cap mushrooms. Now, you know, nobody's disputing the fact that they were poisoned one way or another. That's what they died of. They died miserable deaths, agonizing, lengthy deaths. Well, 3 of them. Ian, he's still with us. He recovered, didn't he? But the other 3 all died very slow, agonizing deaths after going to lunch with Erin Patterson, who actually I haven't got a photo of her here. Maybe I need to put a picture of her up. Hang on. Yeah, they went to lunch with Erin, who is the estranged wife of 2 of the victims' son. And they went to lunch with her. They had beef Wellington in individual. We found out yesterday. I don't have a picture of it. Let me find one. We found out yesterday, in day 1, that the beef Wellington was served in individual plates, on individual plates. So that's thought to be how it happened. That, you know, if she's guilty, you know, people giving me a hard time about, you know, insinuating that she's guilty. Well, she is on trial for murder. You know, the police don't just do that for fun, you know, and I have my opinions. You know, I'm not on the jury. I can have an opinion about anything I like. And if you don't like my opinion, well, fine, give your opinion. But, you know, or don't watch. Simple as that. Don't like my opinions. There's millions of other YouTube channels you can watch. Why are you even watching this one then? So I'm having my opinion is that she's, you know, likely to be guilty, because personally, I don't think that the police bring cases against people who aren't guilty. Or I'm not saying it never happens. I know it does occasionally. It's very rare, because it's so difficult to bring someone to court in the first place, to get everything together and bring them to court in the first place. I just don't believe the police. I just don't believe it. I don't care what people say. I just do not believe that people, the police would do it deliberately just to, you know, be horrible to someone. Just don't believe it. So if you believe it, that's fine. So in my opinion, she's more likely to be guilty than not, but I'm not on the jury. The jury will make the decision. They will see all the evidence. It's up to them to be, impartial. Not me. I'm not on the jury. I don't have to be impartial if I don't want to be. So anyway, this I finally found a picture of her. So this is Erin, and she's thought to be guilty of poisoning all these people. But this is what the trial's going to establish one way or the other. And whatever the jury decides, that's the verdict that has to be accepted. That's what juries are for. I'm not on that jury. I'm glad I'm not on that jury. I've done jury service. It's not very nice in general, and certainly not. I didn't do a murder trial. But anyway, so yeah, that's what we're here for. We have our opinions and we're not on the jury. So on day one, we found that she'd lied about having cancer. She'd asked everyone to be all together to discuss her health issues, even though people were reluctant to go. And we also found out that she did serve the beef Wellington on individual plates to everybody. So that explains something that, a query that we'd all had is why didn't she get ill? Though she apparently, we'll find out in a minute, did say that she was ill with diarrhea. Anyway, so I didn't put my banner on again. Forget it every time. So thank you anyway for watching. Thank you for, even if you're watching, you don't like, thank you for any input you put into my channel. If you don't want to watch me, that's fine. Go and watch someone else. But anyway, thank you to those who do want to watch me. Thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for being members. Today's Thursday. Tonight we've got members live. So that's all, I'm looking forward to that. And what else? Thank you for sending super stickers, buying Ko-fis, or PayPaling me things that you all do to support me. Emails, I'm trying to keep up with my emails. I've got a little bit behind again with my emails. It doesn't take long because I get quite a lot when I've got a lot of things going on. But thank you anyway. I mean, I do get around to them all in the end, but sometimes it just takes me a little while. So thank you for that. Now, thank you for to you lurkers that are watching at home, who don't like to join in the chat. Hi to replay crew, and hi, of course, to the people that are brave enough to come into the chat, and they're the ones I'm going to say hi to now. Hi, Angel. Hi, Bluebell. Yeah, well, that's it. We've all got our opinions, Bluebell, Yeah, well, we'll see. We just see what evidence comes out. Hi, Daniel. Okay, so let's have a look at what's been going on yesterday. And it's literally, I think, what time is it, Bluebell, in Australia at the moment? Because, of course, I get confused with the times. Because I'm in Spain. For anybody who's not watched this channel before, I'm based in Spain. So I get a bit confused with, here in Spain, it's 8:30 in the morning. But I don't know what's going on. I don't know what is in Australia. Hang on. As you can tell, I'm half asleep. This is my second coffee. I need to get it down me because until I've had 2 coffees, I'm not quite awake. Hi, Pam. So, yeah, I'm sort of a little bit half asleep, but I will be awake by the end of this video. Right, let's see. So, we're going to have a look at, so the development on day 2 is the first witness was called, which is, let's have a look, which was, is Erin's estranged husband. And Erin's estranged husband, he, now there were charges of attempted murder against him, but they've been dropped. They're the charges that have been dropped. So, anyway, it was his parents, though, his parents that died after eating the beef Wellington, and it was his auntie as well who died, and his uncle who was so severely ill but survived. So, but for some reason that I'm not sure of, the charges against him have been dropped for whatever reason. So the timeline is moving. So this is on, I need to let you know the source. I think it's, oh gosh, ABC Australia. And they're doing a timeline. They were doing a timeline for the case. And so we're going to work sort of from backwards, if you like. We're going to start from the earliest post that they made and come up to the most recent post. Because although this trial is public for the media or the public, you can go and watch this trial, but it's not televised. So we have to rely on what comes out, what the notes the media make, etc. So this starts off, it says 4 hours ago, the timeline is moving closer to the date of the 2023 lunch. As of 2022, the couple were living in separate houses and their children were staying with Erin, although both parents were caring for the children. Simon says their relationship declined when Erin became angry that he had listed their status as separated on his tax return. So yeah, it's a strange thing, because it seems like he did want to get back together, and I don't know what, at the end of the day, their relationship is their relationship. Don't know what the reason why he'd probably tell us why their relationship broke down. And this has been a sort of thing. What is, if they had such a, an amicable split up that it's said, what is the motive? Because that's important, isn't it? If Erin is guilty, there's normally a motive. It might not be a motive that we understand, that we think we would kill over. But, people don't just do things. I doubt very much that she just killed him for the hell of it. If she did it, of course, allegedly. But what was her motive? Was it money? So that's something that the prosecution will need to establish, because juries or people in general, they do look for a motive. Everybody wants to know why somebody does something. Sometimes there isn't a reason, is there? I mean, it's rare though. It's normally with psychopaths or whatever. But normally in domestic type things, that this would be, if she was guilty, there would be a motive, wouldn't there? As I say, it might be a small thing even. Sometimes people's motives, when you find them out, you think, oh my God, that's hardly important, but it's important to them, obviously. So she said that it mattered for a family tax benefit or something of that nature, and she would be obliged to claim child support off me, which had never happened before. She was upset about it, he says. And he says he was unsure how she had discovered the information on his tax return. The discovery led to an argument and a growing rift between the two, Mr. Patterson tells the court. Further disagreements sprouted from the payment of school fees, which Mr. Patterson says he had always previously paid, and medical bills. And when a medical bill for one of their children arrived and he refused to pay it, their relationship broke down further. And he says, I was sure she was very upset about that. Is there more posts from today? Oh yeah, now this was interesting. So when he was discussing their strained marriage, he says that Erin inherited $2 million from her late grandmother's estate, which was distributed in multiple installments. So if Erin did do this, it can't be a financial motive, surely. He confirms their separation was made permanent in late 2015. Said they went to see a family counsellor. He was asked how his marriage was, and he said, I was always keen to have a good relationship, a good marriage. But Erin decided to buy herself a separate house and move into it. And he says at the time she had not given him a reason for the separation. So it seems that she was the one who wanted to separate. So that takes away the motive of, sort of being annoyed that he'd left her or whatever. It seems like she left him. And she later communicated to him that their relationship was toxic. So he's then asked if the multiple separations were always initiated by Miss Patterson, and Mr. Patterson takes long pauses during his answer as he processes the question, and he says, "That's a difficult one to answer. It was always her leaving me." And he then asked for tissues as emotion overwhelmed him, but declined to take a break from his testimony. I mean, he will be emotional. He's lost his parents and his auntie. So I can't go back too far because I haven't got that much time. But anyway, when he was asked about his estranged wife, he said she was witty and worked towards many qualifications. She's very intelligent, she's quite witty and can be quite funny. And some of the things that attracted me to her in the first place was her intelligence. He said she's a qualified accountant. Oh yeah, and that was the other thing. She was an air traffic controller. She studied various courses while we were married, including a vet science course and legal courses as well. And when he was asked how she interacted with others, he said it was very rare for her to invite people over to their home in the early years of marriage. So he confirmed he's still married to Erin and says they first met in the early 2000s. They both worked for the Monash City Council in Melbourne. He was a civil engineer while Erin was in the local laws department. And they slowly got to know each other and started a romantic relationship and got married finally on June the 2nd, 2007. So there's a bit of a background towards their relationship. So this rift that they're talking about seemed to start with this thing when he listed his status as separated. Anyway, then there was a break. And then when they came back, he continued to give his testimony. And he said Erin loved her father-in-law's gentle nature, apparently. So after the disagreement about child support, Mr. Patterson said Miss Patterson reached out in a group chat on the app Signal to his parents. And he says Miss Patterson directed her concerns about the child support arrangements to his parents and tried to get them involved, according to him. And he says his parents called on the pair to resolve the issue together. And he says that Erin particularly got on well with his father, Don, and he again becomes emotional when speaking of his father. I think she loved his gentle nature, he said. So then this lunch invitation came out. He says he was invited to an earlier lunch that Erin Patterson wanted to hold with him, his parents and his children, but he declined that invitation. He says he was later approached by Erin at the church he and his wife attended, and he was invited to attend a lunch on July the 29th, 2023. He said that Erin said she wanted to discuss a serious matter regarding her health with him and his relatives, and he understood the children would not be there. And when he discussed the invitation with his parents, they were intrigued by the purpose of the invitation. He later called his parents, told them he would not be attending, and he also told Erin Patterson he would be uncomfortable attending. Then these text messages came out. The jury was shown an excerpt from a text message between Simon and Erin Patterson. And Mr. Patterson read the messages aloud to the court, which was sent at 6:54 p.m. the night before the lunch. And he said, "Sorry, I feel too uncomfortable about coming to lunch with you, Mum, Dad, Heather and Ian, but I'm happy to talk about your health and implications with that at another time. If you'd like to discuss on the phone, let me know." And she responded saying his decision was really disappointing. And she said, "I've spent many hours this week," yeah, I bet she had, "preparing lunch for tomorrow," she said, and adding that had been exhausting in light of her health condition. "I've spent a small fortune on beef eye fillet to make beef Wellingtons," she said, And she told her husband, it's important to me that you're all there tomorrow, so she could have the conversations she felt she needed to have with the family. Anyway, now he explains the events on the afternoon of the lunch and the following day as he remembers them. He recalls picking up his children and a friend from a cinema around 2:30 and driving them back to Erin Patterson's house in Leongatha, but he did not get out of the car or speak to anyone at the house. He says he saw his parents' car at the house, but he did not see them. And the following morning, he says he received a phone call from his father saying he and his wife had been sick during the night with vomiting and diarrhea. How awful. It's so sad, because that is a long, slow death, that of these death cap mushrooms. He also visited the home of Ian and Heather and saw that Heather was pretty crook and had been vomiting too. So he says that Heather Wilkinson, his aunt, brought up the serving of lunch at Miss Patterson's house. We didn't have much conversation, but she puzzled and she said, I noticed that Erin served herself her food on a coloured plate, which was different to the rest, he tells the court. So, yeah, so they're illustrating it. But, yeah, she served them on individual plates and her plate was a different colour to the others, you know. So that is a fact at the end of the day. She did serve. You know, what can you read into that? Anyway, Simon Patterson says, after being told it would be an hour wait for an ambulance to arrive at the Wilkinson home, he elected to drive them himself. He drove the Wilkinsons' car to Korumburra Hospital, where they were told the facility was full and that they should instead travel to Leongatha Hospital. Oh my God, awful. On the drive to Leongatha, Mr. Patterson says Heather once again asked about the plate, and he says he could not remember the exact phrasing, but he tells the court to the best of his recollection. She said to me, is Erin short of crockery? Is that why she would have this different coloured kind of plate? And I said, yes, Erin doesn't have that many plates, and that might be the reason. And during this part of the testimony, Erin Patterson's focus is fixed on her estranged husband, but she shows no emotion. So it's interesting that they were already discussing that she might have poisoned them, basically, weren't they? So when he's asked about the condition of his parents at the hospital, he gets emotional when discussing his father, who he says was substantially worse than Mum. He was lying on his side, hunched quite noticeably, really discoloured face, struggling to speak, he says. Now, I think he finished off someone else's portion as well. His voice was strained in a way that he wasn't right. Inside, he was feeling pain. He says his parents also told him that Erin had revealed a cancer diagnosis to them at lunch. And she said she'd been diagnosed with ovarian cancer. And then Erin Patterson contacted him and said she was ill, that she'd been having diarrhea, and it was quite frequent. And she said every 20 minutes or so she'd had diarrhea, and she'd not wanted to get out the car at the risk of having an accident. She was worried that she would poo her pants, he says. He tells the court that after a long day at the hospital, he returned to his own home around 2 a.m. in the morning. And then he received a call at 7 a.m. the next morning from Erin, who wanted to talk. He said she was a bit indignant, and she said sarcastically, I'll sort out my own problems, or something to that effect. But that's a bit, you know, he's just had to take his parents to hospital and leave them there. And like she's getting stroppy about diarrhea. Anyway, she talked of further diarrhea and she asked him to take her to the hospital. And Mr. Patterson says he declined and told her to get an ambulance instead. I mean, at the end of the day, he just got in at 2:30 in the morning the night before after being with his parents. So, you know, Anyway, then he took a phone call from Erin on the Monday after the lunch, and she said to him she'd been to the hospital and the hospital staff had advised her to take the children in for an assessment. And he says, I said to her, I'm glad you feel healthy enough to pick up the kids now. He says his wife turned down his offer to pick up the children from school and said she wanted to pick them up herself. And she said he told him that she didn't want the children to feel scared about why they were being picked up. And he says he thinks his wife had a bit of a barney with the hospital staff about which hospital the children would be admitted to for observation, as she wanted them to be in the same hospital as her. He says she later told him she checked herself out of hospital and drove home, where she lay down and slept for 45 minutes. Then there was a lunch break. Okay, this is interesting. So this is the house. This is the house. Nice house. It can't be money, can it? If she inherited all those $2 million, I mean, that's a lot of money. Surely it can't be a financial reason if she has done it. So this is her home, a 5-bedroomed home, 3 acres, with a dining room hosting a 6-seater table on the ground floor. It's a lovely house. The dining room sits parallel to the island kitchen bench where it is alleged she had been cooking before the guests arrived. Yeah, so it's a pretty nice house, isn't it? Let's just watch this video.
Simon Patterson took the stand as the first witness in the Erin Patterson trial here in Morwell. Erin Patterson is charged with 3 counts of murder and 1 count of attempted murder over a lunch at her Leongatha home in July 2023. Crown Prosecutor Nanette Rogers took Simon Patterson through the chronology of their marriage and relationship. He said that they met at the Monash City Council and they married in 2007. He described a number of separations during their marriage. They had 2 children, but separated several times for periods of several weeks or several months. They separated permanently in 2015, but he described their relationship after that as friendly. They texted each other frequently, not just with procedural arrangements for the children, but also with different comments on politics and other arrangements. He described Erin as witty and intelligent. Their relationship was friendly enough for them to go on holidays together with the children, interstate and overseas. But he described around 2022, the relationship took a different turn. Erin Patterson called him aside for a private conversation to talk about the fact that she had discovered that he had written that they were separated on his tax return for the first time. He says she was upset about this, as it would affect their family tax benefit and would mean that she would have to claim child support. Simon Patterson will continue to give his evidence this afternoon. Now, yesterday we heard for the first time some of the details of that lunch. We heard that Erin Patterson served individual beef Wellingtons on different coloured plates for her guests and herself. We heard it described that the guests became very ill later that night, were taken to hospital where they were treated for mushroom poisoning and sadly died around a week later. Erin Patterson herself went to hospital on the Monday after the lunch, but refused treatment for mushroom poisoning and discharged herself against medical advice. The trial is expected to continue for another 5 to 6 weeks here in Morwell.
So a week they were ill for, those poor people, a week of agony and illness. I mean, it's terrible, isn't it? Okay, so then when the trial came back, he was continued to be questioned. So he picked up his children from school to bring them to hospital for tests and asked them about what they had eaten. And they responded they had eaten steak, green beans and mashed potato, but no mushrooms. And he confirmed that his children were found not to be ill at Monash, but were kept overnight. And he said that while the children were being admitted, they saw Erin being brought into the hospital on a trolley. He says there was no sign of vomiting or diarrhea from her when he saw her. Well, you know, so she didn't vomit or have diarrhea when he saw it. Doesn't mean to say she didn't have it, of course. But he says one of his children raised the topic of mushrooms in the hospital. And he says that during their time in hospital, Erin had mentioned conducting a blind taste test with the mushroom-infused muffins with her children using a dehydrator. And he said, it felt like news to me that she dehydrated food, Mr. Patterson says. And he tells the court he was not aware that Erin owned a dehydrator, which, you know, at the end of the day, he wouldn't know what she had or didn't have. So then he got cross-examined by Erin Patterson's defence lawyer, Colin Mandy. And he asked Mr. Patterson if his friendship with Miss Patterson was as strong after their separation, but prior to late 2022. And Mr. Patterson said he was not sure that strong is the word he would use, but he accepted he may have said that in a previous interview with police. It's not wrong. That relationship went up and down over that time, he says. He confirms that he and Erin Patterson and their children took numerous trips together after their separation, including overseas holidays. And he then raised the inheritance that Erin Patterson received after her grandmother passed away. And Mr. Patterson agreed that Erin Patterson was very generous with the money she received, and she bought the property that Mr. Patterson lives in. So she bought him a property. So, yeah, okay. And she then also gave loans to his siblings. Mr. Mandy asked Simon Patterson about loans given to his siblings from a pool of money that included Miss Patterson's inheritance. And he says the loans were given with an understanding they would be repaid in a similar fashion to a mortgage, but with no strict repayment schedule. And Mr. Mandy asked, would it be fair to say that money has never been a significant motivating factor in Miss Patterson's life decisions? And Mr. Patterson agrees. So there isn't a money motive. There isn't a money motive by the look of it. So then they talked about childcare arrangements, and the children would stay with Erin during the week and with Mr. Patterson on the weekends. And that he said that after an overseas trip in 2017, an attempt was made to reconcile the marriage, but it failed. And then he asked him about Erin using part of her inheritance to purchase properties in both their names. And he agreed that he maintained some hope prior to 2020 that the relationship could be reconciled. So he said, then he went on to say that in January of 2021, they had a disagreement over whose name was on the titles of certain properties they shared. Maybe that's some sort of a motive, I don't know. He wanted his name added to certain titles, while Miss Patterson wanted it removed from others. While they had attempted to reconcile several times in recent years following family trips together, Mr. Patterson says he was unsure if Miss Patterson was using him for his contacts and expertise as she was building her Leongatha home. Okay, then they had a break. Let's see. So then the hearing resumed and cross-examination resumed. And Mr. Mandy said that Erin was an atheist when she met Simon, but converted to Christianity as a result of his influence. She became a regular church attender. They joined groups for weekly Bible studies, etc. Let's see, where else are we going? So he says that his parents loved Erin and that Erin also appeared to love his parents. He said that the Pattersons formed part of Erin's trust network, etc. And he said Erin and the children had been to Don and Gail's house for dinner before without him being present. And he says the distance between his parents and his children had grown in time before their deaths. And he said towards the end there, I know Mum and Dad were trying hard to reach out and connect with the grandkids. And I know they were struggling a bit to achieve that. Right. Oh, we're nearly at the... So, yeah, that's more or less... That's the last update. That was an hour ago. So that's where we are. So it seems like money is not a motive. It seems like she had a good relationship with her in-laws. Yeah. So what was the motive if she did it? That's what the prosecution are going to be struggling to establish, isn't it? Then you have to establish a motive, you know. Don't feel like a motive's been established yet unless it's these disputes about the names on the properties. Well, it's early days, isn't it? It's only day 2. That's as far as the updates go so far. I'll be back tomorrow because I would imagine it's finished now for the day, I would think. Won't it have finished by live? That was the last update an hour ago. It's got to be, I would imagine it's finished now for the day. But that's as far as those updates go. I'll just have a look, see if I can see anywhere else. I've got the Guardian up here as well. They've been doing updates. Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? Why it said... Erin, this thing about the blind taste test with their daughter using dehydrated mushrooms in muffins. Muffins. They don't mean sweet muffins then, I presume. They mean like baps. You wouldn't put mushrooms in muffins, would you, if you think of muffins as cookies or whatever? They must mean like rolls. Yeah. Anyway, so no, there's nothing further from what I can see on the things I've prepared. That's 4 p.m. court closes. What time is it there now, Bluebell, though? What time is it there now? Is it 4 p.m. now? Oh, yeah, I haven't got a clue about time. Let's have a look. Time in, where is it? Melbourne. Oh, well, it's 5 o'clock now, isn't it? It's 5 o'clock in the... Oh, yeah. 5, thank you. 5 o'clock now, so they're probably finished now, haven't they, for the day? Okay, I've got to go. I've got this crazy day, but if you remember, I will see you tonight in the members only live Thursday night. It's Thursday again. These Thursdays come around so quickly, don't they? So we'll see what transpires. But it seems like, you know, she's very comfortable financially. So it seems like money wasn't an issue, but maybe these titles, like, you know, disputes over the names that are on the titles could have been a motive that, you know, they're going to have to establish a motive if they feel that she's guilty and they want to prove that she's guilty. I think motive is going to be very important because people, you know, in a case like that, people would have a motive, even if it might not be a motive we might understand. You know, why would she want to hurt them if she had such a good relationship with them? You know, seems like she was close to them. Why would she, unless it was to hurt him? You know, this is it. This is what the jury are going to have to decide. But of course, there's other evidence like the dehydrator, etc. You know, at the end of the day, this case is all about, and it may be difficult for the prosecution to make it a case that it was deliberate, because that's what they've got to prove. There's no dispute that these horrible, horrible mushrooms, let's have another look at them. I don't think there's any dispute that this is what these people died of, these death cap mushrooms. Of course, the dispute is Did she do it deliberately, or was it a tragic accident? That's what the prosecution's got to prove, isn't it? Yeah. Anyway, sorry, I've got to go, unfortunately, but I'll be back later. Maybe back before members, like with a public live. I'm not sure yet. We'll see. I've got this sort of, I'll say this day that I'm not sure how it's all going to go. But thank you for watching. Thank you for caring about these poor people that were poisoned so terribly. And yeah, I mean, if Erin is innocent, then she'll get found innocent, won't she? So, and if she's guilty, she'll get found guilty. Okay, so we're only on day 2, so there's a lot more evidence, obviously, to come out from both sides. Okay, I'll see you really soon in the next video. And as always, may your God go with you. And just don't eat any mushrooms. Bye.